Going live.
And we're live.
Going live. This Hangout on Air is live. Good morning. Welcome. Happy Friday. Stretch those muscles out. Let's get going. Everybody wake up. You have no excuses because I was out until 2 in the morning last night, 2:30, and I got up at 7 to do this. So
You're a
nobody
party
has
animal.
any excuses. We had Mike Milan from Finagraph actually in town doing a class today at a bank, so we had dinner with him last night. I drove up to Santa Barbara to do that with him. So it was great meeting him, and that course is about to go live on schoolofbookkeeping.com. It'll be live by the end of the weekend for sure. And then today we have one of our upcoming courses on a product that I've used for a long, long time. In fact, I was just thinking, as I was getting the Hangout set up this morning, that because of this product specifically, I have not actually printed a check in probably over 2 years. And even then, when I was printing checks, it was only because up to a certain point, my wife insisted that she get paid by check instead, because she helps me a lot with company stuff. So she insisted on getting paid by check instead of having the money directly drop into her account. She's a shareholder in my corporation too, so anyway, so I finally convinced her to let me set her up as a payee in Bill.com so that it simplifies my life and hers, because now the money just comes into her account. And it's funny because over the years, I have, in some cases, kind of struggled to convince people to do ePay. Let me just do ePay. The money, you'll get the money faster. It's more secure. You don't have to worry about checks getting lost or any of that kind of stuff. Just do it. Just do ePay. So Bill.com is a product that I have obviously used for a long time. It has literally changed my life. I don't want to sound dramatic, but it has. It's changed my life. It's changed the way I do business. Because everybody that I work with, everybody that I ever have to pay, gets paid through Bill.com. So I'm really excited to have you guys have a look at this product. I know a lot of us have seen it before, but so for those of you who've seen it before, we're going to get a fresh, updated look at what's going on in the product, what new advances and features have come out within the product. And with that very long introduction, I want to welcome Jamie to our Hangout. Jamie, welcome, and thank you for getting up early and being with us today.
I had to put on makeup and do my hair this morning.
Me too.
All right. Now, Seth, you're going to have to help me. This is my first time using the Google Hangout.
Okay. So if you move your mouse over the actual Hangout screen, on the left, near the top, you'll see a little green screen-looking icon with a curvy right-pointing arrow. Curvy right pointing. For you, that might look like I'm pointing to the left. And when you click on that, that's how you can share your screen when you're ready to do that. But other than that, tell us a little bit, kind of high level about who you are, what you do. Obviously, we know you work at Bill.com. So tell us a little bit about you and what's going on at Bill.com, your role there, what you do there, and how things are going.
Okay, so my name is Jamie Davis. I've been here at Bill.com for 5.5 years. I started in their customer support department where it was just me, and we would get one phone call a day. And we have come a very, very long way since then. I now am the Director of Sales Enablement. So in my group are the sales engineers. We do the onboarding and the implementation. And then I also have account managers. And the account managers are the ones who partner with our accountants, our bookkeepers, and we help them grow their business. So we partner and we help you with tips, tricks, different ways to bring clients on. We help you with onboarding your clients and building the business that way. Today what I'm going to show you is the accountant program so that you can see how you can manage your clients, and then I'll show you how simple and easy Bill.com is. My focus today will be on the accounts payable side of the house. We do offer, though, both accounts payable and accounts receivable services. Mm-hmm.
Great. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, so like I said, when you're ready, just click that little green icon on your left, and it'll give you screen sharing options.
All right. Let me share I'll choose the entire screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you might see a little drop down at the top of your Hangout screen that says present to everyone. So if you see that option, click it. If not, then you're all set.
Okay. All right, it says I'm presenting, so let's give this a try. Make sure. Are you guys able to see my Bill.com screen?
Yeah, we sure can.
Okay, perfect, perfect.
And by the way, I'm sorry, Jay, just a housekeeping thing. For those of you in the panel, if you want Jamie's screen to stay primary in the top, then click on Jamie's thumbnail so it stays up there for you. Otherwise, as people talk and things, their screen will come up there. So, okay.
Okay, great, great. So I'm logged into my Bill.com account, and what I'm showing you is a dashboard. So I have multiple Bill.com accounts. When I first log in with my email address, I'm able to see every account that I'm attached to. What I'm going to do is focus and show you guys the accounting program. Now, with the accounting program that we have, it normally retails for $49 a month, but for all of you lovely folks, we have a special deal. A big discount, which is going to save you over $200 a year, and I'll show you how to sign up and get that deal towards the end of this. But with the console, and I'm going to go here to the console that I created, what you're going to get is this is a way to manage your client. So we call it the client management console. And I'm in my console, and you see I have on this console 2 clients, and I'm able to see without having to even log in what I need to do for each of these companies. So I'm able to quickly say, you know what, I'm going to work on this account first. This has the most stuff that I need to do. With this program, you also get discounted wholesale pricing for your clients. And we can discuss what that pricing is later, but it's a very, very big discount off of retail prices. I'm going to go into the console, tell you and show you really quickly some more things that you get with it, and then we'll dive into the AP piece of things. Oops. Let me get out of here. Okay, so then you also get certified training with this console. So you can get your certifications, and then you can get a badge. We've got guru training and expert training, and you can put that right in your email signature or right on your web page. And we also are offering CPE credits now along with our certifications. We have business marketing and selling tools. So you're able to create demo accounts within your console so that you can show your customers the benefits of using Bill.com. We've also got selling tools, marketing tools that help you, again, you know, checklists for your customers, price calculators, client setup documents, all right here. We also have an accountant directory. So you're able to, and I haven't set mine up, but you can put your logo, and then what folks will be able to do is they'll be able to go to the Bill.com page, click on the accountant directory, and they'll see you. So if they're looking for an accountant that is familiar with Bill.com, they'll be able to find you. Also with this, you get a dedicated account manager. And again, that's the crew that falls into my group. And then we are going to help you grow your business. We're going to help you get started, and we're going to stay with you along the way. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go in to one of my clients, if I had any more clients. So this is a client management tool. I'm able just to add clients straight here from the console. I don't have to go to the Bill.com page each time to do it, and I'm able to manage them. One more thing before I leave out of here too is we also have centralized billing. So you're able to select whether Bill.com bills your clients directly, or if you want them Bill.com to bill your console. Now the good thing about if we bill you directly, we'll bill your credit card, but then you can charge your clients whatever it is that you want. I know some folks, they will, you know, maybe group it in with some other services they provide. So maybe they charge their client $500 a month, but that includes tax services, Bill.com, and other things. Or you could just mark it up. You can say, this is the accounts payable, accounts receivable service I'm giving you. And then you can mark up our prices because, again, they are extremely low. So you have that choice, and then you can pick and choose which client company you want to bill to the console and which one you want to bill to themselves. Now, when I come back here and I'm looking at this console, or yeah, from the dashboard, I can see any clients that I have access to. So if you have staff members and you want to give them just access to ABC Barbershop, just that client, then when they log in, all they will see is that. I see everybody because I'm the administrator user on all of my clients' accounts. The other good thing about Bill.com is you can have different permissions within each of the different client accounts as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to show you the accounts payable process, which is very easy and done within 4 steps. What I'm going to show you is, the first step is entering and coding the bill. The second step is approving the bill. The third step is paying the bill, and the fourth step is sync, and you are done. So I am going to go into my inbox, and we'll start here with the coding of the bill. I use Chrome, so I can drag and drop files here. I think IE8 doesn't really work, but most browsers will, where you can drag and drop. You can also upload your bills. So if you have a bill saved to your hard drive, you can upload it. You also have an email address and a fax number. So you can do things different ways. If you have a client who has all of the bills, like I've talked to some folks and they say they have to drive to their client's office to get the bills. You don't have to do that with Bill.com. Have them send them to you. They can scan them and they can email, fax, or fax them into you. They don't have to send each bill in separately either. They can send it all in one batch. So if they have, they can send up to 250 pages in one batch. So it would come in one package, and then you could just break the bills down like that. Now, when they send them, or if you upload them, they'll end up right here in the inbox. So nobody has to drive anywhere to get the bills in. I've also talked to lots of people who actually give the fax. Well, I don't know. Fax is kind of, not everybody uses fax so much anymore, but email. They give their vendors their email address, so that saves them an extra step. The vendors have their email address, and they send it right into Bill.com, and that's where it ends up. So once the bills are in Bill.com, then you're going to create it. Now, our system, we don't just have bills. We also do document storage, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but you're able to store any type of document. So if you want to save like contracts, leases, other documents outside of bills, our system is a great place to do that, and it's unlimited document storage. So I'm going to create a bill, and as you see, I can also create a vendor credit as well. So I have my AT&T bill. Now, it's very easy to create a bill here in Bill.com. I just click on the thumbnail, and then I'm going to enter it. Now, what we will do when we help onboard you is we will talk to you about your workflows, and we'll determine what your setup is. Sometimes it might want to be that you want to be first on the bill, you want to enter it, you want to code it, and then send it to your client. Some folks, we've got AP clerks who are first in line, they code the bill, and then maybe the accountant or bookkeeper is at the end of the line to confirm and make sure the coding is right. It's definitely up to you what you want your process to be, but we'll help you set that up in a way that's most efficient. It works best for you. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a vendor. Now I'm syncing with QuickBooks. We also sync with QuickBooks, QuickBooks Online, Intact, NetSuite, and Xero. The first thing that we will do when we onboard you is we will set up your sync, and that will bring in all of your vendors, all of your chart of accounts, all of your items. All of your list items will come into Bill.com, so you don't have to do double entry. So with our sync, we are saving you those extra steps. I'm just going to pick, don't actually have an AT&T vendor in here, so I'm just going to pick one of my vendors. Okay. Now, our system has smart data entry. So what that means is it remembers some things from my previous bill. Okay, so I picked the vendor, And what it did was it defaulted my payment terms because I have that set up on my vendor, and it also defaulted my expense accounts because this was the expense account I used on the last bill. So I won't have to key that information in each and every time. Just so for simplicity here, I'm going to enter these amounts. Now, had I entered a bill description, that would have defaulted to in the smart data entry. I could leave a note to a payer or approver. So payers are people who their permissions only allow them to pay approved bills. If I leave a note, then when they go to pay bills, they will be able to see my note. Pay this bill. The approvers, this is a role designed for folks who only log into approved bills. So they have restricted permissions as well. They're not going to be able to do things like create vendors, change vendors' addresses. All they will be able to do is approve a bill that was assigned to them. We also have custom roles, though, and you're able to, if you need a little bit more permissions for that person, you're able to create them. And again, we will help you with that setup in your onboarding. Now I'm going to go ahead and code this bill. And I can do up to 50 different line items. I can use departments. For QuickBooks, that's classes. I can use customer and jobs. So for the QuickBooks users out there, if you want a billable expense, you can go ahead and pick a customer, and then there we go. It defaults to billable. And then what will happen is when I sync, if I go into QuickBooks and I create an invoice for this customer, then I will be prompted to add the billable expenses. I can also put items here on the bill as well. Now, you'll see that there's already an approver on this bill. With Bill.com, you have the ability to set up a default approver. So if you always have that one person who always is the first approver on the bill, then you'll set up a default approver and the system will always put them on there. Otherwise, what the system will do is our smart data entry functionality will just put the same approvers from the last bill. And then at any time, I can go in and I can add approvers. I can change the order of the approvers. Here we go. And I can rearrange them. I have the permissions, so I can add a new approver. If I say I need somebody who's not in Bill.com to approve this bill, I'd have the ability to add them, and it will create them as an approver in the system. But that, again, is because I have the permissions to do that. Now, this bill there's 4 pages to this bill, because remember I said you can send them in one batch. At this time, I could save the page and move on to the next page and create a new bill. But for me, this bill is all of the pages is one bill, so I'm going to include all of the remaining pages. And I am, it's telling me that I already have a bill with that number for Faye. So it's giving me a duplicate warning. Here we go. So I'll fix that. Okay, so that's our first step. Now we've coded the bill. So the next step is approving the bill. So this bill was assigned. Okay, there we go. This bill was assigned to me, so I'm going to go and I'm going to approve it. And approving bills is something you can very easily do from your mobile phone. So if you're taking a vacation, you don't have to worry. You can just go onto your mobile phone, and then there are your bills to approve right there for you. Now, there's a few different ways to approve bills. You can approve them by reviewing them one-on-one or one by one. You can go through a slideshow approval, which what will happen is you'll approve the bill, it'll go straight to the next one, straight to the next one. If I don't even want to look at them, I can select them, and then I can just approve them. Oh, I have such a long list. I have approve button at the bottom, but I'm just going to go ahead and approve this one bill. All right. Okay. Now, just because I have the permissions to, I have the ability to change the account coding. If I was just an approver, I wouldn't be able to do that. So this is telling me that it's waiting for my approval. Once I can skip myself. I can say if I wanted to, I don't need to approve this bill, but I'm going to go ahead and approve it. Once I approve the bill, then it will go to the next person. I also, again, have the ability to add more approvers, and I have the ability to leave a note. Now, from this screen, I can approve the bill, I can deny the bill, or because I'm an administrator, I can edit the bill. Again, your approvers will not have the ability to edit. If I deny the bill, then somebody will need to go in and they will need to fix whatever issue is. But I'm going to go ahead and approve it. This looks good to me. So that's the second step. Now, again, it's going to go to the very next approver in line for them to approve the bills. And I can see at any time what bills are with what person. On my payables overview screen, it will let me know which bills are waiting for which approval. So I can say, hey, you've got 50 bills to approve, you need to get on it. And no excuses, you can do this from your mobile phone. Now next, we're going to pay the bill. So I'm going to go to my pay screen. And then from here, I can choose which bill I want to pay. I can pay the bills in full, or I can even partially pay the bills. So if I wanted to pay 50 cents on this bill, I absolutely could. I can choose the process date that I want. So if I know I'm going to be out for a week or so and I want to schedule these bills for payment in advance, then I have the ability to do that. I can pick a process date, let's say April 1st. Bill.com is not going to do anything with that bill until April 1st. Now you may notice that we don't see that bill on this screen, okay? And that's because I have a control set where whoever comes to the pay screen is only going to pay the approved bills. For the most part, that's what you want. But I'm an approver of this bill, and even though that bill is not approved, I need to pay it, or they're going to shut off my cell phone service. And only because I'm an administrator with the permissions to do that can I come in here. I've got lots of bills to pay. Now there's a few different ways that we can pay bills for you. So we can do e-payment, which is absolutely the best way to pay your bills. We also do paper check for you. We can send that out. And then you can also pay your bills by PayPal. If your vendor also has a PayPal account, then PayPal will move that money for you and pay that bill. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pay this bill for Faye. I can see the notes. So here I am as the payer, and I see that note that I left for the payer earlier. Now this, another kind of different, well, another workflow that is very common is we have the accountants and the bookkeepers. Their staff are the ones who enter the bill, they code the bill, they approve the bill, and then your client's role is a payer. And what for those people, all they do is come in and they see the pay bill screen, and all they do is pay bills. I've spoken to many a bookkeeper and accountant who do not want their clients touching bills or having access to that. So a payer is a perfect role for that situation. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pay this bill. And I can set up multiple bank accounts if I wanted to. I only have one here, but I can set up multiple. There is no limit. I can set up, if I have multiple bank accounts, I can pick which one is the default, and that will come here, and I can pay it. I can also say that I want to print this check in QuickBooks for the desktop users. When you sync it, then you can print the check directly in QuickBooks. You can also, if you pay the bill outside of Bill.com, you still want Bill.com to be your main, your one source of where all of your documentation is. So if you pay the bill outside of Bill.com, you can select the option to mark the bill as paid, and then from there you can choose whether you want us to sync that bill payment to your accounting software or not. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to pay this bill. I don't think I have an address for her. So let's skip. Let's go here. Okay, I'm going to have to find somebody with an address. Hold on one second. Let's do this. All right. Okay. So that's done. I have paid the bill, and just really quickly, I am going to. Okay, so here's the bill. It's scheduled. Bill.com hasn't done anything with it. It's not going to do anything until the process date, which I have selected as 3/17. But just so that I don't come out of my pocket $150, I am going to cancel this payment. Okay. Now the last step in this process is I've coded the bill, I've approved the bill, I paid the bill. The last thing I'm going to do is sync. And I apologize. I was having problems with my webcam, so I'm on a different computer. So I'm not going to be able to show you, but for the QuickBooks Desktop folks, what you will have is a dashboard. And
Jamie, do you want me to share my screen real quick so I can show everybody what it looks like?
Yes, can you do that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me and you can stay with your screen shared. It'll just be both of us for a minute.
Okay.
No big deal. So I'm going to share my screen, everybody. You should now see the wormhole here. Let me minimize, and then I'm going to run the Bill.com app. So, and actually, it's probably going to make me have QuickBooks open before I can run the app. So bear with me 1 second. But as you're going to see, it takes just about a second to open up the Bill.com app. You'll want to have the QuickBooks Desktop file open that you're syncing with. And then all it is clicking Sync Now. And then, occasionally you might get, and this is where, I've heard it described, and I agree, that the Bill.com sync with QuickBooks Desktop is like the gold standard for, syncing with a QuickBooks Desktop file, in that it just has such a nice deep integration. So what it'll do is, if there are any kind of problems or conflicts, it will come up with the error message, and here's what it looks like. Right now, I only have my own company on the desktop sync with Bill.com. Like I said, I was out late last night. So here, I'll click Sync so you can see the process, and it's going to go through, and it'll show me what changes have been made to Bill.com and what changes have been made to QuickBooks. And then if there are any errors, hopefully I won't get any, but if I do, there's a link that will come up right up here where it now says Querying QuickBooks for Changes. That'll say Fix Errors, and that link will take you right over into Bill.com. You'll have to sign in, of course, and then it has you address. And on the rare occasion that you have an error that you can't fix on your own, the Bill.com support is amazing. I have never had a situation that wasn't resolved in very short order. I think the longest it's ever taken is maybe 24 hours to get something fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
What is that?
That's Super Slam.
That's pretty nice. All right, thank you, Seth, for that. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
You got it.
Doing that sync for me. And your kind words about our customer support department. And Seth is right. From when you're logged into your account, if you go to customer support, you can get there from any page by clicking the support option, and we have immediate chat, or if you want to talk on the phone, we'll call you back. Now, again, we will help you set up the sync. So you won't have to do that by yourself. We'll help you link to your accounting software, and we will sync with you, clean up any errors if you have any. Now, when you do this sync, now all of your bills, all of your bill payments, any new vendors you've created in Bill.com will sync to QuickBooks. Now, when you have an onboarding appointment with us, we'll talk to you about best practices and workflows and how to avoid sync errors. So, a common sync error is you've got...
Oh, here we go. We're hold on, I'll take care of this.
We're being slammed.
That's a nice thing.
Look, we're blessed. We have John Cena joining us apparently this morning.
Yes.
What could be better?
But common issues are when you have multiple staff or multiple clients in all different types of places. You got some folks in Bill.com, some folks in QuickBooks. So we'll help you set up standard practices, such as you create your bills in Bill.com, so you might as well just create your vendors in Bill.com, and that will help avoid any kind of duplicates because we'll give you warnings and things in the system. Now, I'm going to talk to you about our vendors really quickly. Yes, we'll bring them in from your accounting software, but you can absolutely create them in Bill.com. Now, with Bill.com, we have a network of over 400,000 businesses. So you can set up your vendors for each. So you can, when you bring your vendors in, you can do a scoop in one shot. Set up e-payments. Our system will check the network for you to see who is already in there. If you've got vendors who aren't, then you also have the option of sending them an invitation to join the network. Now, once they join the Bill.com network, they can get a free account where they can receive payments from you, and they can enter their banking information in there directly. You know, so some vendors might say, I don't want to give you my bank information. No problem. You get them into our network, they enter their bank information, and now they can actually get paid from any Bill.com customer because now they are in our network. And then our system will show you when you log into your account, hey, you've got some vendors in our network. You know, set it up. So
and I'm sorry, I've had a lot of vendors that have come back to me and said, this is great stuff. How do I get on board with Bill.com?
Well, that's good. That's great. That's great. That's good. And they also, because they have a free account with us, they can also contact our customer support department because we do definitely consider them as customers and we want them to be successful as well. So that's great. That's great. So the network for us is really, really, really big, and it's growing, and it's growing, and it's growing. So I just stress to everybody as much as possible, set up e-payment. I'm here in sunny San Diego, but for folks who live in areas where it snows, I feel bad for you, but you don't want it. You don't want your checks getting held up by the Postal Service because of snowstorms and different things like that. With e-payments, you won't have those problems.
Yeah, and if I can throw something else in there on this, it was really cool because I had one client who was consistently late paying his credit card bills, and when I realized that, as Jamie pointed out, there's a lot of vendors that are in their system, I went in and went to the credit card companies, that I had set up as vendors in Bill.com, and you click to set up e-payments, and it will bring up a list of addresses that it kind of says, hey, this may be your vendor, and these are the ones who are in our system that might be a match to your vendor here, and you just make sure that the billing address matches what's on the statement, and that way you can confirm, and then you're paying the credit card bill through Bill.com via e-payment, so you can schedule it just a few days ahead of the due date, and the money's in there on time.
Yep, exactly, and you can guarantee it's on time, whereas with a check you can't do that.
Yep.
And if you guys do decide that you want to search the network, one big tip I have for you is to make sure you have account numbers in there. Otherwise, you're going to get some wonky matches. So the address and the account number is extremely important in finding a perfect match. Now with Bill.com, we also have recurring bills. Not recurring payments, but you can set up a recurring bill, and the system will create that bill for you based on whatever guidelines that you set for it. So if you have things like rent that you always pay the same time, same month, go ahead and set that up. Now I want to talk to you about our document storage. The great thing about Bill.com is everything can be in one place. You don't have to have bills in boxes at this location, contracts and leases in another location, and then when the auditor comes, everything is all over the place. In Bill.com, you will always find any bill documentation that you've sent in. You will always, if you do have a send out checks, you will find the front and the back, a copy of the front and the back of the cash check in Bill.com. Everything in Bill.com has an audit trail. So if you pull up a bill, you will be able to see on the bill, and actually, let's go to this. You will be able to see on the bill what happened. You can see when it was approved. You'd be able to see when it was paid. I'll show you really quick. this. Here we go. Okay, so you'd see when it was created, when it was assigned. I can see that it's still in approving status. I can see all of that. I'd be able to see I have deleted that payment. But if I had paid the bill, I'd be able to see, I'd see everything on the audit trail, even for my vendors. If I change an address for a vendor, that's in the audit trail. Pretty much everything that you do in Bill.com is in the audit trail. So to add and complement all of that, you can store other documents in Bill.com. You can create folders, and then you can group your other documents within the folders. So again, when that auditor comes, all you have to do is give them it's not really read-only access, but you can create a custom role for that auditor to give them access to whatever they need to see in there, not manage, but just view things. And you can just say, go at it. Everything that you need for your audit is right here in Bill.com. So it's really, truly amazing.
Now, Jamie, if I can interrupt you for a second, because this is actually being discussed in our private Hangout chat right now as we speak, and since you're bringing up the subject of audits and things, and I know this question comes up.
Do you know where this chat is? Jamie, do you have chat up?
Let me see. Let me go back here.
In the same toolbar where you see the little 29 icon at the top left, click on that and you'll see the chat.
I'm sorry.
That whole thing.
No, that's okay. So, but I can give you the Cliff Notes version of what's going on here in the chat. So the question is, and this comes up all the time, should I, as the accountant or bookkeeper, have the ability to pay bills on my client's behalf? And I know that from even the workflow within Bill.com, because I've done it in the past, if the client has to authorize me to make payments, and then when I accept that authorization, I am asked in the process within Bill.com to confirm that I am in fact a signer on their account. So technically, even though you could lie to Bill.com and say, yes, I'm a signer, and then Bill.com will let you make the payments and the client will have authorized you to do so, doing so is I think, probably from a legal standpoint, effectively ratifying that you are in fact a signer on the client's account. And if you do that, there are certain liabilities associated with that, such that a lot of my CPA friends and other accounting colleagues will tell you not a good idea, because you can be responsible and liable for unpaid taxes and all kinds of other things on their account. Plus, as Dennis points out in the chat, you'll be the first person suspected in the event that there is any kind of fraud. So you got to be really careful about allowing your client to establish you with the authority to make payments on their behalf. The best suggested practice that we have in the accounting community is you as the accountant or bookkeeper enter the bills. You might even be able to approve them, but let the client be the one who ultimately pushes the button to make the payment.
Yep, that's great. That's great. We actually get that question a lot. We do. So that's great that you guys are discussing that and talking about that. Now, one thing, just since we kind of are talking about fraud and paying bills, another thing for me to mention for you guys, which could be a relief to some customers, is, instead of having to have this check stock in your office, and this has got your bank information in there, Bill.com, we are going to send out the checks on your behalf, and they're going to be on our check stock with our bank information. So you'll never have to worry about your client's bank information being stolen, somebody gets a copy of that check, anything. It's going out on ours. So we sign those checks. We do all of that stuff. You will have full visibility into those checks and when those checks are cashed. And then what we will do to make your reconciliation life a little bit easier is, instead of seeing these checks cash one by one, so let's say you pay 100 bills, rather than having to see, okay, did this check clear, did this check clear, what Bill.com does is at the end of the day, on the same process date, we make one, we make one lump sum debit. So let me see if I have any here. So if I paid $100 bills, I think I've gone too far in my math, then at the end of that day, we will just make the lump sum payment of whatever, whatever they
Right, in a nutshell, there's one lump sum payment taken out of your checking account for the total of all the payments that you processed on that day. So in reconciling, you have one entry to check off instead of 10.
Right.
Yep.
Like direct deposit. We're used to that with payroll.
Oh, okay, great, great. Yep, then it's just like that, and you're done. So we make it very, very easy.
Now, Jamie, I have a question for you. The Zen service that you guys have, where I can have you guys do the data entry for me. If I have complexities such as, where bills need to be job costed, or I want to make sure that it's an item that's being used, to code the expense rather than an account, if I set up that service, am I able to sort of somehow talk to somebody and train them and say, this is how my bills need to get entered, or how does that work?
No, because it's data entry service, right? And everybody has different setups. Our data entry service folks, they don't have access to your accounts because we don't want them to. So we give them a few screens. The only thing that they can enter is vendor name, vendor address, the account number for the vendor, the amount. Just the basics. Your account code doesn't get picked up, but what will pick it up is the smart data entry, but it will only pick it up from the previous bill. So with that service, in Zen, that's oh, that was so long ago when we called it Zen. But with that service, well, because I had to really try to get myself to start calling it data entry service. So. But so with that service, you still want to have a first approver on the bill. So after the data entry service enters it, then the first approver will get it, and then they can change the items or any account coding necessary.
So we can just go in and code.
Yes. Absolutely. That's a great question. Now I didn't talk about receivables much, but I'll just kind of quickly say we do receivables. And for those of you who use QuickBooks, you'll find that our invoice, it looks pretty similar to the setup. Let me do a brand new one. It looks pretty similar to the setup that you would have in QuickBooks. You can do auto pay, all that good stuff. You can manually charge them from our system. We have our merchant for credit card services is Vantage PayTrace. That's integrated in Bill.com. Your customers, your clients' customers will have access to the portal. They can go into the portal and they can pay it. Or for folks who struggle with getting people to pay them, they could just set up their customers on auto pay, and we'll just auto pay it. And we'll create the invoice. So they literally would not have to do much of anything for the receivable side. The one thing that I do tell our bookkeepers or accountants is even if you don't have clients using accounts receivable, you could absolutely use it yourself. You can send out your clients, the invoices to your clients through our accounts receivable service. You'll have through the accountants program, you'll have the client management console, but you could absolutely set up a firm account for yourself to use with Bill.com as well, and then send out those invoices. If your client also happens to be a Bill.com customer, this is going to even be better, because what they will get in their inbox is you've created the invoice, you've emailed it out from Bill.com. It goes into their inbox and it looks just like this. It's already done. It tells them what the amount is, when it's due. This is what we call an e-bill, e-invoice, because the system knows, oh, hey, these are both Bill.com customers. It will help you with that setup because you do have to put in their payment network ID. But then all your client will have to do is come in here and accept the bill.
Can I print that e-bill if I want to?
To print the e-bill, yes, you can. I will show you how. So I don't think I did much coding. Let me cancel out of here. If you want to print any bills, documents, you can just go.
Or download a PDF?
Just download it right here.
Ah, there you go. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and incidentally, since you brought it up, when I'm entering bills in bill.com, I find it's handy very often. The option where she has selected where it says download e-bill, when you're entering a bill as an accounts payable, it'll say open document. And when you do that, it will download the PDF of that, because I often find it's handy to have that PDF open on one screen while I'm entering in bill.com in the other screen. Because even though it lets you have that dialog next to the bill on screen, in my case, they often overlap because I have a lot of details that go in, so that data entry screen in bill.com becomes very wide. So I find it handy to have the PDF open while I'm doing the data entry in another screen, and you can even copy and paste if the PDF is a good enough quality. And that way, it just makes the data entry process easier for me when I'm doing it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't print them. I just, trash them after that.
Yep. And then also another thing that you guys can have, because this is all, here we are, paperless. But we also offer a DVD. So what some accountants and bookkeepers do is just at the end of every year, they ask us for a DVD, and all of the documentations, all of the documents that are in bill.com will be on the DVD, along with all of the front and the backs of the...
For just that year, or everything in the system?
For whatever you request. We'll ask you what dates do you want. So you can say for just that year, you can say for the month, you can say forever. It's definitely up to you. It's definitely up to you. One of our latest features we came out with is credit memos for receivables. We did not have that before, so this is a new functionality that a lot of people have been waiting for. Now, a little bit about the sync, just so that you guys know, is, because I don't know what all different accounting softwares everyone uses, but the syncs work differently for all of them. The QuickBooks Desktop sync is definitely very robust, but we have other syncs, like Intact 2.0 we have for the Intact users. It's more of a two-way sync of everything. So let's say for QuickBooks, when your payables, your bills are a one-way sync. You enter them in bill.com, they sync to QuickBooks, but bills you enter in QuickBooks do not sync back to bill.com. But if you're a QuickBooks Online user, they do. Bills are a two-way sync with QuickBooks Online, Intact 2.0, and NetSuite 2.0. So there are differences between all of the accounting softwares, and when you have your onboarding appointment, we will go over that with you so that you know where you need to enter information so that it syncs back and forth. Because again, the more you can kind of follow that path, the less double entry you're going to have to do in your accounting software. Mm-hmm. Lastly, I probably should talk about our cash flow really quickly before we are out of time here. But we have a cash forecast calendar where you'll be able to see up to 3 months. If you sync with QuickBooks, then your trial ending balance from the previous day will show up. Otherwise, you can just manually override it, but when you sync, it'll show up. And then you'll be able to see your bill.com transactions, so it'll be able to tell you on any day what your cash is going to look like, and you're able to add non-bill.com transactions in. So if you're doing things outside bill.com, like paying rent, you can just put that item or that transaction in, and then we will also throw that on the cash forecast for you.
Well,
I'm having a hard time saying that.
I've been concerned that a client will go to pay bills without seeing their bank, not their bank balance, but their book bank balance. Does it show them when they're making decisions on whether to pay bills and when to pay bills what their bank balance is?
It will on the cash forecast. On this calendar is the only place it's going to show that. So depending on their permissions, if they have the permissions to this, you can just work out a process with them that says, before you pay a single bill, I want you to check this calendar first. And then they can go and then they can pay it. But when they're on the pay bill screen, I am having a hard time with these dials. When they're on the pay bill screen, they can't see their cash balance on this screen.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, speaking of that, usually, and this is what I recommend as a best practice here, is number one, have your accounting software open while you're in Bill.com paying bills, and have the approval process workflow set up such that by the time it's up to the person who is going to push that button to make the payments, the fact that it's been approved means somebody has already taken the time to confirm that there's enough money in the bank to cover that. Because one of the cool things about Bill.com that we haven't even talked about here is they have a great mobile website and mobile app for iOS, such that your client can be on vacation on the beach and still be paying the bill, so that they still have control over what gets paid and what doesn't.
Oh, see, I'm thinking approval as in approval to book it and eventually pay it.
You can do both.
And not
you can
be the
really
person who's in charge of the checkbook on cash flow.
Yeah,
And,
you
and
can
if
set
I'm not
up-
a payer, then I can't control when the payer pulls the trigger.
Right, but you can set up detailed workflow here where you can establish that the person who approves the bills to be paid is the same person who has done the due diligence to check to make sure the funds are there to cover it. And in one client's case where I had a client who just didn't want to have to log into anything, what I actually used to do is I would actually send him a spreadsheet of, with an export from QuickBooks actually, of saying, here's what I think we should pay. And he would send it back to me with his revisions to that, and then I would go in into Bill.com and then mark them as approved to be paid, and then he would pay them. So it was a little extra workflow just to make sure that I had the trail and that the client had the satisfaction of knowing that nothing was getting paid without his specific approval.
Nothing's gonna bounce. Yeah.
Yeah, and then ultimately, if it does, frankly, it's on them, because I already took the time to make sure, hey, here's what can be paid based on what I've done in terms of checking your bank balance and making sure there's money there to cover it. And we used to do this, and in fact, Billy Ann has mentioned that she loves my little short-term cash flow tool in our Bookkeepers Delight course in schoolofbookkeeping.com, because what I'm describing is exactly what's described in that course, and I know Billy Ann has commented on that in the past about how she now uses it for their clients, and she said that she literally has clients who've stopped bouncing checks because of that process that I've created there.
But the entire batch would bounce. Say they approve all these bills, and Bill.com doesn't have enough to do the entire group of bills. The whole thing would be kicked back, right?
So, Jamie, how does that work? If you guys go to pull money out of my account to pay the bills I've scheduled and there are insufficient funds, do you pay whatever can be covered out of it, or do you just kick them all out?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Because there's such a small lead time, when we're sending out these checks, we're sending out our money in good faith. It kind of takes a little bit longer for us to find out if the money that we debited from your client is good or not.
Oh.
So what will happen in the NSF situation depends on if we've sent that check out or not. So bigger checks, like if this is a $20,000 check, we're going to send that out a day later. So if we find out about the NSF, then what we'll say to you is, look, we've sent all of these checks out, these small checks, we've sent them out already. You've got to wire us the funds. These big checks that we held on to for an extra day, just in case something like this happened, we've canceled them. We're not going to send it out. So that's how that works.
Okay.
Sarah, I want to say that in QuickBooks, Bill.com creates extra accounts. There's extra bank accounts.
Right.
One for money in and one for money out. And because you're doing these, as many of them e-pay, and you can schedule these for future payments, a lot of times you will have money in your money out until it actually clears the bank. So when you're looking at your QuickBooks balance, you want to make sure that you're looking at the regular checking account in addition to that money out account.
Right, which means you want to run your balance sheet, because then all the bank accounts show up there, including the Bill.com clearing account.
Oh, I see the concept. Okay.
Yeah, that's your clearing account, because again, we're doing that one lump sum, but you need to be able to see, well, what's the breakdown? Where are those individual payments?
So the bill's already relieved, and then it's sort of in a temporary account until the...
Exactly.
Yeah. You can see ahead of time what's going to come out, and you can actually, just like any other bank account, you can dig into that register and see the exact date on which the money is going to be pulled out.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool.
Exactly.
Jimmy, would you mind going back and showing us in the cash flow area how to because you mentioned that you can put stuff that's not included in Bill.com in there for consideration, and I missed where I would go to actually add something to that. Because here's what I encounter. I can easily get all the vendors to get on board with the AP side, because it's, even if they don't even have to know necessarily. I enter their bills and I pay it. If they don't want to do e-pay, they get a check from you guys. Where I struggle on this is on the AR side. And some clients just have clients of their own that aren't going to get on board with paying through Bill.com. In one case, I'll give you, for instance, I had a client where the clients were very, very big media companies with humongous AP departments of their own. There's no way you're getting them to get in there and click on a link and say, okay, we'll pay you online. They send checks. They're very slow to move and keep up with technology that way. So that's what oftentimes on my end is missing from the cash flow picture on the forecasting. So I see where I could enter dates here, but how do I actually enter that, hey, there's a receivable of $1,000 that I expect to come in next Friday?
Okay, so what you'll do is you go to the home, and then you go to forecast transactions, and then you're going to click new.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yep, and then you just pick the date that you want it to show up on the forecast calendar, the amount, if it's an inflow or an outflow. And you're done. Perfect.
I didn't see where the new was. I always miss that because of those little hyperlinks. So okay, yeah. That's perfect.
And then just a couple more things I did want to talk about really quickly. The approvals, which I hadn't covered before, is you can also set up approval policies. So if you have clients that say, if the bill is greater than $500, it needs to have 2 approvers on it or 3 approvers on it. You can set that up with Bill.com, and then you can select which approvers need to be on it. And what will happen is if somebody tries, when they enter the bill, they try to save it, they won't be able to. They'll get a message that says this is outside the policy. So for those folks who need that, you'll find it there. And then lastly, I did want to kind of show you guys again. This is for you guys. We're giving a special deal if you are not already in the accountants program. You're going to get a discount. So it's very easy, www.bill.com/SOB. You come here and you fill out, one day this will load, you'll fill out the form, and then instead of getting a $49 per month accountant program, you will get it for $30. And then again, all of your clients are heavily discounted. You can take a look at our self-guided tour. We'll onboard you. We'll account manage with you. And it's a risk-free trial, so you can go in, you can set it up, and you can give it a try. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much.
And there's a question in the chat, by the way. Dennis is asking. He says, "I'm assuming as the accountant, you can monitor the cash flow and warn the client about potential problems with both receivables and payables." So, I think with that cash flow tool you showed, that's something the accountant would have access to, right?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. They'll have access to it, and anyone who you set up to have access to it will see it as well.
Right, and if I remember correctly, there's also, and it may have been that same dialogue, but isn't there a place where as you make the changes on that chart, it will make suggested changes to bill payment dates so that you can make sure that you are paying it on a date when there's going to be enough cash to cover it based on what Bill.com sees is coming in and when?
I
thought I remembered seeing something like that.
Oh, that sounds amazing, but
I could, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought I could have sworn I saw something like that where as I made changes it would say it would change, it would make suggested payment dates on bills. Maybe I was just imagining that though.
That might that might
well, there's a new feature request.
Yeah, that's an amazing one. My eyes kind of like open there. That is definitely a good one. But and the thing about this cash forecast calendar too, just to note, is when you first enter in your bills, what we're going to do is we're going to capture the due dates. But you have control. So even though the due date is 10/31 here on this bill, I don't want to change that, but I can change and say, I know I am not going to get that money until, February 1st. Or here we go, February 1st. So I have the ability to change when it's going to appear on the calendar without, this is a little stuck there. Okay, without changing the actual date.
Got it. And maybe that's what I'm thinking is when you change that graph and you can see if there's a certain point where you're going to go negative based on the current cash flow, then obviously you can go in and change your bills due dates or change the expected payment dates or something like that.
Yeah.
So you'd have to do that manually based on what you see here on this chart.
Yes, absolutely. And then I can even from here, if I wanted to, I can pay them right from here if I wanted to as well.
Cool. All right, we're just about out of time. Anybody got any questions?
I have a feature.
Can a client? Okay.
Sorry. I'd like to be able to transfer between bank accounts. I mean, you can do it by setting up a vendor, but it'd be a lot easier if we could just click a button and say transfer $1,000 from account 1 to account 2.
Are you talking about accounts at the same bank or different bank?
Different banks. For whatever reason, I have clients that need to have bank accounts everywhere.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, no, I have accounts at B of A and Wells Fargo, but truth be told, it's very easy to go in there and just link the two by going into one and entering in the account and routing information for the other. So I just do that outside of Bill.com, and it's very easy to set up on most major banks' websites.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it outside of Bill.com. I wanted to do it inside of Bill.com because that's my policy of doing everything in Bill.com.
Yeah, I could definitely put that in as a feature request because I do know that that's what folks do, and they do exactly what you say. They just set up a vendor, and then that's how they transfer the funds.
And you can put yourself on ePay and accept it, right? Well, how does that work if it's still through your same Bill.com account? If I set up a vendor, are you going to send out a check, or am I able to do it through ePay?
You could do it through ePay if you have the bank information, because what you'll do is you set up the vendor. You have the ability to manually enter bank info. So if you have your vendor's bank info, which is you have it, it's your routing number and account number, you go into the vendor, you enter that on the vendor side, and then you send out.
So you'd have to have a login for that vendor, like a free login that all vendors get?
No, you don't even have to have a login. So what you can do for vendors to manually enter their bank info is you just go, oh geez, I'm having trouble with this one. You pull up the vendor. Let me find a check vendor. And then it's a little hard to get to it, but I'll show you how to get it.
The vendor can give me their banking information?
Yes, they can give you their banking information.
Well, if it's truly a separate vendor outside of yourself, Sarah, you can, when you set up the vendor in Bill.com, you might have just seen it a second ago. There's a button right there that says Set Up E-Payments, and it will automatically send an email to the vendor where they can click on a link, and then they get to create like a free Bill.com account that allows them to receive payments from you electronically.
If you're setting yourself up as a vendor for transfers.
That's where I'm confused about this, because if I'm setting myself up as a vendor, that's going to go to me. I already have a Bill.com account. It seems like Bill.com is going to see it as a circular kind of thing.
No, because so you'll have in Bill.com. I got to put in my security code. You'll have in Bill.com your bank account that you normally are making payments from, right? Now, what you want to do is you want to transfer it from that bank account. Trying to find my code, from that bank account to a totally different one. So I
can't have the receiving bank account as one of my accounts in Bill.com. It has to be separated.
Yeah, you'll put it on the vendor level. You'll put it, so you'll call the vendor Bank of America. Let's say that your account in Bill.com is Wells Fargo. That's where you normally pay your bills. You set up a vendor, call it Bank of America, and then what you would do is I have my security set up. What you would do is you would go to the vendor. You don't need to send them an invite. You'll pull them up, and I just can't get in because I got my security all set up. So it's telling me.
So if we know the banking information, we can set them up. They don't have to approve us sending them money.
Right. You don't need a login. They don't need their own account. You just manually, literally.
You send them money, which is ourself. Okay. But then that'll really screw up an auditor when you've got bank transfers and accounts flowing through accounts payable.
Well, I mean, our system wasn't designed. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Our system isn't designed for that scenario. It's just a workaround, and I do know people use it. But now you have a bill, and is it a true bill? No, that's your book.
Well, and I did something like that outside of Bill.com with respect to my banking. I have a money market account that has at an institution that doesn't have branches, and that I do on purpose because when I really want to stash money away and have to think about it before I spend it, that's like my long-term savings. So I had created up a bill payee on my banking website so I could, because I would otherwise just have to mail a check in. So in effect, I have the bank do it for me. So it sounds similar to that, but so here's my question. If at some point that bank account that I've set up with that vendor, if I decided, hey, I need to bring that bank account into the Bill.com mix, is that going to mess things up if I do that, or am I still, how is that going to look?
It won't mess anything up because our system doesn't know the difference. I mean, you can have 5 of the same bank accounts in our system. We don't know the difference.
You tell us what bank account to use when you pay it. You can pick. If you only have one bank account, it only shows one bank account, but if you have several,
but my concern is if I have a bank account that is set up as one of my, let's say, 2 Bill.com bank accounts, and then I also have that same account with the same information associated with a vendor, that's what I'm thinking might screw things up, but I guess not, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it won't. It won't.
You know why I like this workaround is because I have to get a client's login in order to move money in between different banks. And I've always been uncomfortable with that. And this way I could set it up to happen and a signer could say, go ahead and move the money. Mm-hmm. It's just running through accounts payable that we'd have to explain, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's a workaround, so it's not the ideal way to do it. I think for me, I would think if you can figure out a way to do it outside of Bill.com, that's probably best. Because again, you're going to put this in as a bill. It's going to sync to your accounting software, and it's not really a bill.
Well, that's definitely a work. Well, if your system's designed to only work with accounts payable,
that's what it's designed for.
It's not so much a feature request because that would be completely different outside of accounts payable.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. This bill is going to sync to, let's say, QuickBooks, and it's going to hit your accounts payable. It's
right.
Well,
that's why manual checks or cash basis and all that just doesn't work with your concept.
Can you have more than one accounts payable you can dedicate to?
No, I asked about that because I've got clients that have multiple ARs for nonprofits, so I knew we couldn't use the AR features at all. But some clients will have separate APs for different programs and divisions. So, no, it's one AP, one AR.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I think with that it's time to wrap up. We're actually over time on this, but Jamie, thank you so much for taking the time. You can stop your screen sharing, by the way. Just move your mouse over and click the same icon again. Thank you so much for taking the time to come out and show us this. As you know, I love this tool. I'm really excited for our upcoming course on Bill.com to get started on that. We'll be starting production on that fairly soon. And again, thank you. Any parting words?
I hope it sounds like some of you are current customers, so thank you. Thank you for the love and sticking with us. And for all of you who are not current customers, I hope to see you. You'll be well taken care of from my team. So, and if you kind of are nervous about it or scared, we will get you through everything. So be sure to sign up on that page so you can get started growing your business.
Great.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Oh, no problem.
All right, thank you. And don't forget, Gina's Hangout is today at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. Gina, what's going on today?
What you see is what you get. It's another open script, and what's on people's mind is what we'll talk about.
Beautiful. All right, we'll see you all there.
Bye. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.
Have a nice weekend.